Welcome to Family Law A to Z with DBD.
Hey everyone, welcome into the first installment of Family Law A to Z with DBD, a podcast from the Pennsylvania-based firm Dischell, Bartle, and Dooley. I am your host, Mike Leon. This series reflects the collective experience of the firm's family law team, including attorneys Mark Dischell, Elizabeth Billies, and Katie Lynn Daly, who work closely together to provide clear, practical guidance on the legal issues that impact you, your family, and your future. Today's episode, joining me is the aforementioned Liz Billies, a partner over at the firm. Liz is dedicated to family law, and she's a mediator known for her thoughtful approach to both sensitive custody matters and complex financial disputes. We're going to get into all of that in just a second. She understands that behind every case is a family that's looking for that clarity, that stability, and a path forward. Liz, it's good to see you. So this is the first installment of the podcast series here that I mentioned. So let's talk a little bit about your background, the family law attorney background. Why did you decide to jump into this field and this practice?
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. Well, sometimes I ask myself every single day why I decided to do this, especially on some of those tough days, but I kid. I have been doing this for 17 years. It'll be 18 years in September. So it is 100% of what I do in my practice, as you mentioned. And I went into law school not really knowing exactly what kind of area that I wanted to practice. And then I worked for a clinic. I went to law school at Villanova in the Philadelphia area. And I worked for a civil justice clinic, and I started working on cases involving custody and child support. And I just really liked it. I always say to people, I make an impact on people's lives that you can argue for better or worse every single day. And it's not boring. I also like the intersection with other areas of law. So, dealing with real estate stuff, tax stuff, sometimes criminal stuff, sometimes immigration. And so it just really keeps it interesting while also feeling like I am helping people get to I always say the next best chapter of their lives. I also feel like I'm helping their children get there as well. So that is why I continue to do it again on those hard days. Sometimes I question that. But that's why I keep going, and I do thoroughly enjoy it. I do stuff in the courtroom, outside the courtroom, and I do really enjoy people. And I think that's I interact with people doing this job, so that's also a bonus as well.
Yeah, well, it's great to hear, and great to hear about the work. We're going to get into some of the work in just a second. I know my way around Villanova as a Rutgers kid driving down there, visiting some friends. So
Sure.
we're going to get into that in just a sec. But let me ask you on a high level here, because you mentioned about family law, and obviously I mentioned the practice. So when someone starts looking for a family law attorney, can you kind of explain what are some of the differences that they should be looking for that actually matter? Like things that are beyond looking up their website or seeing reviews about them or how close they could be to the courthouse?
Sure. So I always tell people when they ask me this question, I think one of the most important things that you should be looking for is, does this person practice family law the majority of the time or all of the time? There are a lot of people and attorneys out there that practice family law is only a small portion of their practice. They are also doing criminal work. Maybe they're doing traffic stuff. They might be doing real estate transactions, things of that nature. I call them, general practitioners. The problem with hiring those people, and it's not that they are bad lawyers or they're trying to take your money and not do a good job, is that they just don't live and breathe this every single day like those of us who do family law as their primary practice focus. And why that could be detrimental to the client is, one, we can know the judges. Proximity to the courthouse, I don't, I never really worry about that. There's a lot of stuff that we do electronically now and even things on Zoom. But we know the judges, we know how they're likely to rule because we've been there before. We've brought this issue to them before. We've brought this issue to the hearing officers before. So we are able to bring what we've done for other clients to the benefit of our future clients or the present clients. I feel confident telling a client, how I think something is going to go because I've done this fact pattern before, if you will. I mean, every case is unique, and that's what is great about this from a professional side, but there are patterns in most divorce and custody cases. And so knowing those patterns and being able to confidently tell your client, hey, I think we could settle for this. Here's an idea of a way that this could be resolved. I am bringing all of my expertise from all those other family law cases to the table for that client. And people who don't practice family law all the time, they just don't have that wealth of experience. They're also maybe don't have a relationship with the other attorney. I tell my clients all the time, there's 4 people in your divorce now: myself, you, your ex-spouse, and their lawyer. And so if I know the other lawyer and they know me and there's a level of trust there, I'm not going to do, it's not we're, in cahoots against our clients, but we have that level of trust. We have that level, we have a rapport. That also helps our clients, get things done. And the goal here is to get you out of this process and to move you on, again, to that next best chapter. And so people that don't have that experience aren't going to be able to necessarily do that because they don't know the other lawyers and they don't have that rapport. Finally, it's just there is nuances to family law. There's law changes. There is case law that is developed in this area. And so a lot of, I keep up with that because I'm genuinely interested in it. And then this, again, is what I do all the time. And again, those general practitioners may just not do that. And again, if you've got a very nuanced case, you're a business owner, you've got a unique legal issue in your case, you want to make sure you're working with someone who, it doesn't mean I know the answer right off the top of my head, but I know where to go get it because I am living and breathing this area of law.
Yeah. No, it's great to hear. And now one of the questions I was going to ask you about, you guys cover so much. So why, you know what? I'll still ask it anyway, because I
Okay.
want you to expand a little bit more on what you were just saying. Like,
Sure.
why does working with an attorney who focuses specifically on family law make that ultimate difference in how a case is handled? Maybe you can give an example for the audience.
Sure. So, for example, if let's use a money case. I think money cases, it really can happen a lot. I also custody cases. So let's start with a money case first. So, we're trying to divide up people's assets. It's called equitable distribution in Pennsylvania, and AKA the dividing up of the stuff. And I always joke when I say this stuff, I mean your major stuff, not your couches and your TVs. So I know how likely the hearing officer is going to, based on the facts of the parties and the circumstances of the parties, how likely they are going to split those assets. How much is somebody going to get? Are they going to get 60% of the marital estate? Are they going to get alimony? I've done those cases enough times to know likely how that is going to go. So when I'm setting realistic expectations with the client when they first come in or along the way, so that they are more in a posture to settle, and settling is not giving up. It's not, conceding a point. It's actually to the best interest of our clients. They're going to save money, and they're going to get out of this process. And because I have that experience, and we have here at DBD have that experience, we're able to confidently tell our clients. I think they feel confident in what I'm telling them, also because they know my background and they know that I do this all the time. They know I go and see those hearing officers. And so they feel comfortable accepting my proposal or my recommendation on resolving the case. That's for a money case. For custody, you can be really creative in a custody case. Judges aren't going to necessarily be as creative. That's not their job. But I try to be really creative and think outside the box of how can we get a custody agreement done for the parties that they can live with. It's a living and breathing document that affects their kids. And I'm able to be creative, again, because I have confidence because of my expertise and my experience in the courtroom, but also because I've used certain provisions in other cases. I have examples to draw from past clients. So I have someone that comes and sees me with the one party lives out of state. Well, I know some examples of summer schedules that I've used in the past that could work for these parties. And so I offer them to the clients. I offer them to the other side, and they know, because they know I know my stuff, maybe they're more willing to take my offer and to work with me and to get the case done.
Yeah. Great examples. But now I want to ask you about something I'm sure you get asked a lot, which is
Okay.
the cost. How much do you
Sure.
cost? Right. So,
Oh,
so what,
of course.
they ask you this all the time. So, what should someone understand about fees, the way you guys bill, the transparency, all of that before deciding who to hire?
100%. So there's a couple places where they can ask for that information, and you should understand that. We are, this is, I always joke, I waitressed in high school and college and law school. This is customer service in a very different way, but it's still customer service. So they're our client, they are our customers, and they have the right to know how their money is being spent and how and what they are being billed for. So, for example, most family law lawyers are going to do hourly billing. They're not going to do a flat fee. So I can explain what the difference is. So hourly is, in the legal world, everything is counted on 6-minute increments. So, a point one is 6 minutes, a point two is 12 minutes. You kind of get the idea. So most attorneys, I should say, do not do flat fee billing because that's not going to be financially advantageous for the lawyer. In reality, you're going to end up you can spend a lot of time on something, and sometimes it's hard to estimate exactly how long you're going to spend. That being said, I do some flat fee work for where there's going to be no court appearances and it's really just preparing paperwork. But the majority of my cases are going to be that hourly rate. Our hourly rates are not going to be on a website. You're going to need to ask what the hourly rates are if the lawyer does not offer them immediately. So sometimes the clients, when they call to make that initial consult appointment to see me, they'll ask my assistant what's her hourly rate, and my assistant will provide that. Also, in our retainer letter, we provide every client with what is called a retainer letter. It's their agreement that I'm going to represent them, and then obviously what their rights and responsibilities are as my client. We lay out what the hourly rates are of everybody in our office, so there are no surprises in that regard. I always joke I'm a very detailed biller. So my clients receive a bill on a monthly basis, and it says exactly what I am doing and how long it took me. They have 30 days to ask any questions about that bill. Clients will always ask, how much is this going to cost me? I understand that question. It's just very hard to estimate. And I explain that to the clients in the initial consult, why that is really difficult for me, because something that I think should be a very non big deal issue, it's a legal term, it should be something that should be easy to resolve, isn't, because the other side does X, or something can blow up, for lack of a better word, and we didn't was something that was unexpected. But so that's why it is really hard to estimate. I can sometimes give a range depending on, if you don't have custody a portion of your case, it's going to be cheaper. The less you go to court, it's going to be cheaper. The more you can do on your own in terms of resolving smaller issues or perhaps organizing your documents for me and sending them over, it's going to be cheaper. So I will explain that all to the clients in the initial consult as well. Also, just to point out, in Pennsylvania, we are not allowed to do what is called contingency fees. A lot of people, that's what may think of that in personal injury cases. So we don't get paid unless you get paid, those kinds of ads. That's contingency fees. We are not allowed to do that under our ethics rule in Pennsylvania. So that is not an option. Our only options are, again, that flat fee or that hourly rate. Most clients don't ask about contingency fees, but I do like to point that out because people see those ads on TV, they see them, in public transportation. So why, our area of law is just a little different. But I try to have open conversations with my clients about their bill as we go along. I will also remind them, let's not throw good money after bad. I say that all the time. And that's because, who wants to spend $5,000 in legal fees to get $5,000 more in a settlement? And I constantly have that conversation with my clients, and to make them aware of the cost benefit analysis, I like to say. And so that factors into their bill as well.
Yeah. Love that saying. I may start stealing that from you, Liz. Well, let me ask you, because you mentioned the phrase open conversation. So that implies communication that sometimes could add to the cost. What should people be paying attention to early on the communication front and what you guys do and how this is going to work throughout the case if you do take the case?
Sure. So what I like to do in my initial consult, again, that's one of the first, usually the first meeting with the client, is I set up expectations regarding communication, both for my client as well as for myself. So what I mean by that is what they can expect from me and what I expect from them. Ignoring me is expensive because if I have to continue to email you and follow up, I am going to charge you every single time that I need to email you and follow up. And so I let clients know that. So on their side, the client is, I ask them just, respond to me in a timely manner. And again, if I'm following up, I'm charging you for that. On my side, I ask for at least 24 hours to respond to an email. I try to be very responsive to the clients. 24 hours is my goal always, unless I'm on vacation. And then again, you're getting an out of office anyway. So or if I'm sick, people know that. I ask them to respect my personal time. So, I don't do off hours conversations unless, that we're preparing for trial or it's something that we've discussed doing. Because it's a need for what's going on in the case. But generally, I'm going to ask for the communications to be limited, like from 8 to 6 and not really on the weekends. My clients are really respectful of that. I don't actually have that issue. My clients do, for the majority of them, have my cell phone number, but I do find them to be very respectful of my personal time. And I do ask for that. And again, pretty much get that. I always tell my clients the best way to get a hold of me is email. I also ask clients the best way they want to communicate with me. Majority of my clients are very email, digital friendly, email friendly, whatever you want to call it. So that's majority of our communications are going to be that way. I offer Zoom meetings if they would like to see my face for whatever reason. Some people are visual people, works for me. I also schedule phone calls with clients. And I always say that I do that because you get me, I get you. We're not distracted by other work. I have perhaps, the settlement proposal or the draft agreement or the marital inventory, whatever we're working on and discussing, I'm going to have it in front of me and you're going to have it in front of you and we can have a productive conversation. Because again, back to that, cost saving, I like to be productive and I like for them to be ready to be productive. And so if we're going to have a substantive conversation, let's have, a half an hour of real solid progress. And we do that by being prepared for the conversation by scheduling it. So I do that a lot. And some of that is also in the retainer letter, but I really set that out in my conversation with the client during the consult. And then also too, I do try to ask them what's the best way for me to get a hold of you. Because I want to I want to help them if they're phone people versus email people. I like to know that from the outset. And also I do learn that as we go along, what works better for certain types of communications with the clients as well.
Yeah. Liz, as we put a bow on this episode, someone's listening to this, maybe they feel a little overwhelmed. What usually helps them feel confident about selecting you or that right family law attorney so they can move forward?
Sure. So there's a couple things. First, I definitely always encourage people to go to the websites of the lawyers. I go to websites all the time to check people out and I check out other lawyers. I check out just as you would, for like a nail place or a hair salon, make sure you're going to the website to get a feel for the lawyer as best as you can. Also can send an email inquiry to get further information about them and see how long it takes them to get back to you and what kind of response you get. Really the best way to find out if a lawyer is going to be a good fit for you is in that initial consult, coming and seeing them for that initial meeting. I have had so many times where clients have said, thank you so much. I feel so much better now because I've been able to answer their questions that they walked in with during that meeting. Also, a lot of my clients and a lot of people get their lawyers from word of mouth or consider personal referrals from other people that have used my services. So if you know someone who has worked with that attorney that you trust and they really liked them and had a good good relationship with them, you're likely going to have a good relationship with them too. So really using your network to find an attorney. I get a lot of people through Facebook groups as well. So use your network, whether it's a digital network or an in-person network, to help you gather names of attorneys, and then go do your own research and have a meeting with them. And I think if you do that, you're going to find someone that's going to be the best fit for you.
Yeah, it's great advice. Liz, thank you so much for the time, the insights, explaining the firm to the audience. I appreciate it as always.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
That's it for today's episode of Family Law A to Z with DBD. If you want to learn more, you want to schedule that consultation with Liz and anyone or at the team over at Dischell, Bartle, and Dooley, you can do me a favor right now. Visit dbdlaw.com. You're going to find all the resources there that explain the family law process and help you understand what to expect before you make any major decisions. Do me one more favor before you go. Hit like, hit subscribe, leave a review, comment, share the episode with someone who needs to hear it. I'm Mike Leon. See everybody next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.